Hello, as you saw on the video today, I got to 86,000 subscribers. Now, it wasn't actually today, it was a couple of days ago because my videos are filmed a day or two in advance. But yeah, I got to 86,000 subscribers, so that was good. So big thank you to everybody that's, subscribed or supported me financially or bought merch or whatever. It all helps. I think it will probably be, as said in the video, within a month, I think I should be up to about 90,000 subscribers. Or a month and a half, and then give it a few months and it'll be 100k. So hello to everybody and thank you. Like I said, it means a lot to me because it's quite a humbling thing, really, in reality, when you end up doing videos on YouTube and then it gets to the stage where you're quite famous. I could do Ashton, yeah. There's quite a few videos people have requested, but that's one of the ones that people have actually, I think a few people have said about body armor. So yeah, I can do one. What do you want? Like one showing different types of body armor, as in like lightweight stab vests, sort of military style lightweight vests and plate carriers. But hello and thank you to everybody coming on, because there's a lot of people coming on at the moment. So yeah, the weirdest thing recently was getting doxxed, but as said, it was somebody who actually got my address like a year ago, and then I guess it was like a blackmail thing to release it, but oh well, if they spam it, doesn't bother me, because, I've just heard a lot of people say it, Preppers in the Wild, so I can't confirm for certain, but I have heard a lot of people say it. But thank you, Connor. Yeah, so yeah, I've got quite a few bayonets, Justin. One of the videos I wanted to do quite soon was filming an update videos on lots of different bayonets. But yeah, I've got, well, not loads. I've got like ones from some of the more common assault rifles of like the 20th century, because things like AK bayonets and that were like pretty cheap to get. If you've got a question, just ask it. Don't. Thank you, leader. Don't, or leader, however your name's pronounced. Sorry. Don't bother saying I've got a question. Just ask your question if you've got one. There's no new masks I'll be getting in the short term, other than because a lot of masks are overpriced at the moment. But I think Beastore City might be able to get me a Polish MP6 to review at some point. So if you can, that would be brilliant. But it's one of those masks. Apparently, it's very hard to get them as surplus, even in Poland. Even when you've got connections with people, because it's one of those masks where, because it's very new military stock, it doesn't turn up as surplus very often. Cheers, Henry. I've done a video on the plates that are in the ECBA call sign Blitz, but that was included in the ECBA video, but I don't have the plates for the Osprey, sadly. GP5 is 40mm, but it's not 40mm NATO, the common 40mm. It's called 40mm Ghost. At the moment, loads of places aren't actually shipping stuff. Cheers, Chris from HR. Yeah, I'm alright. As I said, it's been weird. Been weird recently, just because it's got to the stage of being doxxed and all that other shit. But it's a strange world, isn't it? Like I said, at 60k subs back before coronavirus hit, then suddenly now I'm at like 86k subs. Was in an article, have been doxxed, all that other weird stuff. But I said it's all pretty strange, isn't it? But oh well. Broken Font said, thank you for your great videos and your reviews. They've helped me learn about PPE and appreciate all masks and respirators. That's good. Glad you find them interesting, because that's the thing. It's just like when you've got hobbies of doing stuff, it's great if you can share interest on your hobbies and other people find it interesting. I've been good, George. Mostly just because, I've stopped kind of worrying about a lot of stuff I'd normally worried about. Not much, Mike. I was just saying hello and sort of thank you to everybody. Because there's a lot of stuff out of your control and there's no point worrying over it, is it? No, Connor, I've not, but that sounds interesting. I mean, Chernobyl is in theory quite safe, other than a few areas now, just because most of the radionuclides there have been either cleaned up during the original liquidation or they've had enough half-lives that they're not that dangerous. Greetings to Poland. Went there. It was a lovely place. I went to Warsaw, Gdansk, Krakow, and a couple of other places. I think Poznan was one, but Poland was lovely. You know, I went to Czech Republic, that was lovely. Went to Slovakia, that was lovely. You know, I don't think I've been anywhere and gone, oh, that was horrible. You know, I've enjoyed most places I go because I like the culture and, you know, the history of a lot of places like that. And it's nice when you can do videos on the equipment and the people come on to tell you stories of it from their country, you know. I've done a couple of videos on hazmat suits, Northern Dawn. Normally they're called NBC suits or CBRN suits. If you mean the giant hazmat suits, I've got 1 or 2 videos on them. You have to look up the UB1 suit. All right, thank you very much, George. Just don't send me anything I'm not allowed to have in the UK or I might get into trouble with customs. Let me know if you want anything back at all for postage, but thank you very much. Cheers, Big Slav X-Man. I definitely wouldn't want to be going up near the reactor in Chernobyl, even as somebody who finds it really interesting. The thing is, Textum, I think I joked about that a while ago. I said probably the zone is a lot safer than everywhere else now, isn't it? Because of, you know, just because there's a lot less people there. What do you mean by importing them in the toll? It depends what country you're in and where you're importing them from. So if I buy stuff from the US, I normally have to pay tax on the import as well as the shipping. If I buy stuff from like Europe, no. It really depends where you're getting it from. I have done a couple, Kelly, if you look at the videos. I don't have any like military night vision scopes, but I've got a few night vision monoculars and like thermal monoculars I've all done videos on. I've had migraines now and before, Henry. Some are golden pickaxe, but only if they've got stuff in like a Czech sauce. So, right. The person saying, Daniel, have I ever been recognised in public? Weirdly, not because of YouTube. Where I live, I do a lot of amateur dramatics and stuff like that, and people locally recognise you from that, not because of YouTube. Cheers, Nash. But I think my uncle has migraines a lot. But yeah, I'm quite lucky. I've only had like migraines 2 or 3 times in my life. I mean, they're excruciating and horrible when you have them, but luckily I've not had them very often. I don't actually know Gas Mask Collector. If I ever get one and can review it, I'll go all over the features, but I don't know if it's dual filter or not. Well, a dry suit, Gary, I don't know about that particular one, but a dry suit in theory should offer some, like obviously not completely, but some NBC protection, because it's like rain gear, isn't it? It's tight to your body and it's basically going to stop liquids getting in. So dry suits in theory I think would work quite well for NBC protection. Right, how many swords do I own? Out of proper swords, that rapier there, the saber, the arming sword that's back there somewhere, the katana, that's 4. The falchion, that's 5. And are there any other swords I've got? I think that's probably the lot. Because the order I got them in was arming sword, falchion, then I think saber, rapier, katana. I think that was the order I got them, so I think it's 5 swords I've got. I've obviously got like some machetes and that as well, but they're not really swords, are they? Yeah, I'm from England, so. No idea, Mystic Gamer. I've not got a proper Gorka AP. I've got the Ukrainian kind of copies of Gorkas, and they're good. But Connor says, if you're interested, the channel is called Koreosan English or something. They do a lot of photonic induction, electro booms type stuff, which is the Freedom Being ex-Soviet Republic. That sounds cool. Don't know if I've ever seen their videos. Sometimes I've seen videos on channels and just not remembered it. Cheers, Golden Pickaxe. FDS Man said, is the Canadian C4 capable of taking dual filters? I noticed that it has 2 ports, but never seen one using 2 at the same time. Right, from what I understand of the C4, it's one of those things where by default, no. But if you dismantled it, you could, and you had the right accessories, you could probably assemble it as a 2-port mask. Because I think it's one of those ones where by default they were single ports. But if you had the spares and repairs, it could be disassembled and reassembled with 2 ports. A bit like USM40s. I think it's pretty much the exact same system as the USM40, because there was a lot of, in the 90s and 2000s, sort of cooperation with Canada and the US with sort of filter and mask design. Yeah, the problem we're going to have in the UK, Mystic Gamer, is they're worried there might be a second spike, and then we're going to have to start all the lockdown stuff again, because they're beginning to relax lockdown now, but the worrying thing is obviously if it's relaxed too fast or not in a very good way, we might get a big peak again, and then they have to go back on stuff, More or less UFC. I mean, the problem is not even every NBC or CBRN filter is the same, because lots of NBC and CBRN filters from different countries have different, qualifications to them almost. All right, whereabouts are you in Florida? Don't say if you don't want to, Blue, but I know it's very hot and humid there, isn't it? Cheers, Stuart. I have no idea about using oxygen tanks, but I have used a modern rebreather scrubber. The Soviet rebreather, like an IP5, would be fine if you put on a modern scrubber unit, other than just some of the dangers rebreathers have. But rebreathers in general are not something you mess around with. Cheers, Chocolate Muffin HD. I know you've been watching the channel for a while, because I always recognise your name. That's also because you've got a good name. People with very generic names, I normally forget more. Thank you very much, Preston. He said, welcome for all the subs. This is for the beer. Thank you. I've got one today. Abbott Ale at Lidl or Aldi, wherever it is. I think it's 4 for about £5. So, yeah, this would technically buy me one and a bit of these. So, thank you very much. Gas Mask Collector said, do you know what the L1 is used for by the fishermen? Because they are pretty cheap in Poland. Also, do you know that? Well, that makes sense because, again, they're very waterproof, aren't they? So if you're a fisherman and wanted fishing waders, but there's really cheap surplus equipment in your country, it makes sense people use it. I mean, all over the UK and everywhere, you always see people with, like, old military, like, camo stuff on. Like, I've got 95 DPM trousers on today. But when you go walking or hiking, you see loads of people who are walking and hiking with old military surplus on just because it's comfortable clothing for going out walking in. It's generally very cheap. Yeah, it's a bit stronger penetrated than a lot of them because it's 5% volume, 500 milliliters, so therefore 2.5 UK units. So yeah, it's the thing I like about this is obviously it's a decent strength one. It's not just like water essentially in a can. But also the thing I've never run into the issue with beers and ales and things like that, where you drink it too fast to the stage you get a dangerous alcohol spike, which you can get with spirits if you're just knocking them back. Cheers, Danish Prepper. UFC MMA says, what's your thoughts on the Fushida or Fushida A4 gas mask? Any good for NBC use? Yeah, I fucking love it. Let's see if I've got mine handy and I'll put it on for you. The only thing, it doesn't have a very good voice diaphragm. Other than that, excellent mask. Right, it's not in there. Which mask have I got in there? That's Canadian C3. I think at least it was in this cupboard. Unless I moved it. Oh, that's annoying. The cupboard I thought I had it stored in, I don't think I've got it stored in there anymore. So, sorry, I can't show it to you. I thought it was handy, but it's not. I've probably, put it in a pile of other masks in a storage box somewhere. Because if I put the camera left, look, you'll see I've got like loads of ammo cans and that I use for storage, or I just put loads of stuff in there. But yeah, the A4 is excellent. It's the most comfortable mask I own, I think, in theory. It's just a really good rubber seal to the face. MCU2P is a cool Arctic fox, but sadly they seem to yellow with age very easily. I don't know, Textorm. Ukraine's a pretty big country. A lot of Belarus is in there as well, which a lot of people don't realise. But because Chernobyl is close to the Belarusian border, or Belarusian border, or Belorussia, however it's pronounced, there's quite a big exclusion zone in Belarus as well, which a lot of people forget about. Cheers, White Wolf. Thank you for your nice comments. Andrew Johnson said, okay, second time asking, Lol, what's the oddest respirator you've ever seen? The sort of thing where you wonder what the designers were thinking about. What's the jewel of your respirator collection? Do you want to know the worst or just where it works, but it's not very practical? Because I have a really, really bad mask called the Pewter something or other. And it's like a Chinese industrial mask where they've ripped off a couple of Western masks, but they've cheapened everything they've ripped off. So the mask, like the straps ping off, and it's made from a really soft silicone, which should be comfortable, but the weight of the filter causes the mask to kind of fold away from your face. That's a shame, Big Slav X-Man. That's the reason I kind of tell people not to get Yugo M1s, just because they're like probably the worst quality of a functional mask. I'll wear a GP5 for the 100k thing. I'm not going to wear one now. All right, Ron, how are you? I've done a video on it, Thomas, but generally quite strong with a tiny bit of milk, no sugar. So yeah, no sugar, tiny bit of milk, but not much. That's basically it. My favourite Soviet mask out of all the ones I own is the Shums, as in the SHMS, like sniper kind of looking mask. Yeah, the thing is, UFC MMA, I got a partial refund on mine because the seller said it had been made in like the last couple of years, and it was from 94 or 93 or something. So I basically said to him, look, I like the mask. You said it was brand new, and it's not. And they said, you can send it back and have a full refund, or we can refund you like 20 or 30%. So I went for the 20 or 30% refund because I like the mask. And I thought, that way, I'm getting a load of money back on the mask. It's hard to recommend a cheap mask now, Golden Pickaxe, just simply because so many masks are overinflated in price. There's one on AliExpress I will always recommend, but I don't know how long it will get you. Take to get you. This one. There you are. All right, Steve, had you had issues finding them in your size? Because I know for a while there were lots of Shums on eBay, but they were all in very small sizes that didn't fit anyone. Yeah, that AliExpress mask is very good. It's this particular one. It's basically just a 40mm mask. That's a rip-off of a Scott one. Dear Love Survival did a review of the proper mask it's a rip-off of. And obviously the proper mask is better, but for how cheap these are, these would perfectly work for just a mask to protect you from coronavirus, or if you were sanding in the shed or something. That's cool, Psychedelic Mind. I'm glad you're going into the rabbit hole that you won't get out of military surplus now. But stupidly designed but good mask? Oh, that's a difficult question, because in general, if it works, it's not stupid, is it? I'm trying to think if there's anything I've got which is really weird looking, even if it works. You'd look absolutely ripped, Iron Man. If you had a baggy enough jacket, you could wear it, but you'd look like you'd been taking lots and lots of roids, because if you look at the shape of it, as you can see, your arms aren't normally going to look like that, are they? So yeah, you'd look like you'd been hitting the roids a lot. What's Savrut? Do you mean favourite? That's the only thing I think you could mean. Probably Weapon Collector. He's a mod on here, and I pretty much watch every single one of his videos. But weirdly, tomorrow I've got a video coming out, which is like a channel recommendation video that's giving a shout out to channels that upload videos regularly that I watch, Israeli 4A1s, at one point they used to be 30 or 40 pounds or dollars. I think they're well over that now, I'm afraid. All right, cheers, person whose name I have no hope of pronouncing because it's all some sort of Asian characters. But Canadian C3s are quite good. They're one of the best British light anti-gas respirators sort of spin-offs. The straps on them still aren't very good, but they're good masks in of themselves, comfortable rubber, good voice diaphragm and all that. UFC MMA says, I had an FM12, but I think the mask was damaged or not working because from the bottom it was very wide, and when I used it with an ABEC filter spray to spray, I could smell it. You sure it's just not too big for your face? What size is it? Bear in mind, with FM12s and S10s, size 1 is the biggest. Size 3 or 4 is the smallest, which is a bit counterintuitive, but that's how they size them. Yeah, White Wolf, I've been good today. I had a bit of a lay-in this morning. When I got up, I had a coffee, answered a load of YouTube comments, cooked myself some food. I just did some meatballs in tomato sauce, which is mechanically separated chicken. And I put some Chinese hoisin sauce in it to make it taste a bit more interesting. Listened to some LBC. Been playing quite a bit of Fallout 76. Filmed a video for tomorrow. Well, I managed to somehow answer you, Blaze, even when I couldn't understand what you're saying. So that's something, isn't it? I have, Henry. I have definitely mentioned Botswano's channel in that video coming up tomorrow. I know for a fact there's channels I forgot that I like, because I've put in a description 13 o'clock podcast, because for some reason I just completely forgot to mention them when I did the video. So then they're in the description with the links to all the other channels. My favourite commie helmet, the East German one by a mile. Weirdly, just sits behind me there. The Yugo one is really nice as well. The Yugo one in some ways is a better helmet, but then again it's just like an updated German Stauhelm. But The East German helmet, which looks a bit like a phallus, is actually very, very good. In terms of protection, it was one of the best Cold War helmets ever designed, in terms of steel pots. So it just makes a bit of a bow noise, that's the only thing. A bit like the bell end shape of the helmet, I guess. It probably all plays in. But yeah, the late German, East German ones like this one, or late generation, I should say, have, like a lot of plastic and sort of modern materials in it for a Cold War helmet. So it's a steel pot, but it's got all like, a really modern sort of liner, which makes it really good. It's very comfortable as well. Yeah, you can make it sit lower though. That's adjusted on these bits, but I like it sitting at this height. Bear in mind, you could just tilt it forwards, couldn't you? But the general shape of the helmet, of course, like all helmets, is, that you can see out of your eyes. But, the other thing I could do, of course, is make the bit wider at the top, because it might be a bit tight there. But the only old helmet I've really adjusted to fit me like a glove. That's good, Big Slav X-Man. Weirdly, I've had a few other people recently that said they're getting notifications again. I will do when I put the other helmet on in a second for you. Well, knocking that off. There we go. This is the only helmet I think I've adjusted the liner entirely to perfectly fit my head, which is a very slow process. Well, as much as the strap's good on this one, but you mean one of those sort of faces, Henry? Yeah, Cornlock, it's because lots of people suddenly became interested in gas masks after having no interest in them for years. Techstorm Dark Vision says, do pre-GBP currencies have antique value? I don't know if they can directly be exchanged. I mean, I know like antique shops might buy them and give you money for them. Yeah. Yeah, out of all the old steel pots, the Yugo one is one of the best. If you can see from the shape of this is a German World War II Stahlhelm. Yugoslavia basically got the design, just changed the design ever so slightly. These versions have a very modernized liner in them. And yeah, they put a commie star on the front, but for all practicality, this is just a modernized German Stahlhelm. If you can get a Brody helmet cheap enough, OW, they are cool old helmets. But yeah, Yugoslavia is a bit weird. Their gas masks were absolute crap, like the M1. But their helmets and guns are amazing, Oh, and Yugoslavian music's great as well, whether it's Serbian, Croatian, or whatever, like accordions and electric guitars singing about, stuff. I probably shouldn't go into detail on that. Laser Point Production, thank you very much. He said they gave me 10 Australian dollars. He says, congrats to the big rise in subs. You're deserving every sub for all the support you give to the community. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much. Sarbomb's the biggest bomb ever detonated, Boots, but I'm sure you know that. RC Guy says, I ordered a Nokia M61 getting my collection started. Second mask. Ever thanks for inspiring me to collect military surplus. That's all right. Obviously, it's a weird hobby to get into, but some of the stuff is quite practical. It just doesn't get practical when you've got so much of it is taking up so much of your house, but Well, Yugo M2s or Serbian M2s are fine, but they still apparently have the melting rubber issue, Duke Nougat told me. So it's and he thinks it might be like the weird kind of green dye they put into the masks. That's good, Rich. Your shed looked really good, all the stuff you were doing on it, but if you're not somewhere that's really, really dusty, Blaze, a P3 filter will literally last you months to years. Actually, I'm going to probably loosen that ever so slightly, the helmet strap. That's why I like the strap as well, because it's just the fastest helmet strap I've ever got to adjust. You just do that, all that to tighten and loosen it. Brilliant design. Yeah, this is my best communist helmet by a mile. But I mean, obviously, the thing is with this one, obviously, that the design is ripped off from a German one. It's just they made it a bit more slimline and put the liner in. The interesting thing is the East German M56 was actually designed in Nazi Germany as well. And one of the things you'll notice with it is it actually is a Stahlhelm. It's just what they've done is it's a lot more flared. It's because basically it doesn't, have that angle where it does that. It's just a complete straight line on the angle. But if you actually look at the sort of shape of it, you might be able to see that they're essentially the same shape helmet. It's just this one doesn't kind of go in as it goes down. It just carries on like. In a way, yes. These aren't designed for like blunt force impacts, but they would protect you from it more than nothing. Yeah, that's the thing of old bolt actions, David. They are pretty heavy, aren't they? What I've been doing actually when I've been watching films, sadly I can't show you it on the stream. No, you can have a timeout for spamming the chat. I only give mods to people who know who they are. But I've been just sort of doing deadlifts. Well, not really deadlifts, but like lifts like that with the Rubin, with both hands, and just lifting it with one hand while I've been watching films. Sadly, I can't show you that here because obviously no guns on live streams anymore. But basically, if I get this rapier, it's a similar thing to just doing like that with it constantly. Yeah, M56 are great, aren't they? I mean, like I said, it's a weird kind of phallus dickhead helmet. But in terms of protection, they were excellent because it was a really well-sloped, well-made steel. Military shoulder press, David says. But yeah, basically, because, with a lot of these things, you can just do stuff like that. And if you do enough repetitions of it, you are going to do something with it. With the rapier, though, it's very good for forearm muscles just because of how long and, kind of heavy it ends up being, especially with the scabbard on, to actually do that with it. But especially because this isn't a really well-made rapier, which means it's actually heavier than like the really sort of foil kind of point rapiers. So it's hard to even get this all in frame because of how big it is. Yeah. Which one's that, Zoe? I might have to look it up. I've got the Polish variant known as the OM14 or whatever it is, or OM18. I'm trying to remember what its bloody name is now. Let's have a look. But if that's the one I'm thinking of, that is literally... I've never seen British rubberized NBC suits, Akuma Gaka. I've only ever seen British fabric suits that are impregnated. Yes, I have, Stug. Whether I've got any handy, I don't know, but I've got I've done videos on all my helmets, so I do need to update that. But let me put some of these down. My Hungarian helmet sadly isn't in the room, otherwise I would show it you. But yeah, do I have my Brody helmet in the room? Let me have a look. I thought I did at one point, but whether or not I do, good. So direct opposite of the sort of German-inspired helmet I'm just wearing, there's the classic Anglo helmet. A little bit terrory, but it's quite heavy stuff. Right, let me look that up, Zol, because I'm trying to think. Some air raid sirens do go up for sale text on, but I've never bought one just because it'd be too loud to kind of demonstrate in a video, wouldn't it? You'd piss off every single person down your road. Yes, I do. It's the OM18 or OM14 or whatever it's called, isn't it? In the other name for it. But yes, I've done videos on it. I have got that mask, and it might even be in one of the satchels up there, but I'm not going to get it down there. But yeah, these are the well. All right, Gretchen, how are you? Oh, and thank you very much, Nordic Resilience. He said for the 100k sub countdown. Every day we'll be getting closer to that, but it's like I said, I'll hit 90k first, obviously, and that might be within a month if I'm lucky, and then it'll be a couple more months, and we should be at 100k, assuming that, But yeah, the British helmets, the reason they designed them like this, I am good, Gretchen, despite all the doxing and everything like that. I am in a very good mood. But yeah, the British helmets were pretty much designed just due to shrapnel, because obviously helmets originally were designed for shrapnel, not to protect you from bullets. So the whole idea of these helmets was air bursting shells, shrapnel coming down. They stop the shrapnel either going into your brain or, catching you in the neck from this bit. So it works well like that. And apparently, this is the weird thing, as much as you wouldn't think so, these offered more protection than the German World War I helmets, just simply because they were made from much higher quality steel. So while the German helmets look like they give you much better head coverage, and they do, the issue was they could get pierced a lot more easily by shrapnel, because, you know, the steel was of a much lower quality, whereas the British ones were pretty high manganese steel concentration. But interestingly, the Swiss M18 helmet is apparently the best of both worlds, because it's basically the Swiss M18 is a big Stahlhelm, but it also was made of a really, really good quality steel because it was Swiss. But that's one of the other weird things with helmets. It's not just head coverage, it's how good the materials in the helmet was. A bit like why Mark 6 helmets are shit, but Mark 6A helmets are alright. No, GP5s aren't heavy unless you put the big filters on the front of them with no hose. Yeah, I know there was the problem, wasn't there, David, where when they first adopted helmets, they reported lots and lots more casualties, but that's because they were casualties, not fatalities, because the people who would have died instead were injured, not killed. And a lot of people didn't understand, you know, why that was. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with helmets, isn't it, JJ? It's all about coverage and everything else, but you know, there's been some really bad helmets in history. The British Mark 6 is one of my favourites at being a really bad helmet, just because the older Mark 3 and Mark 4 helmets, you know, like saying the Turtle helmets offered much better protection. You get to the Mark 6 and they decide to make it out of a very thin layer of ballistic nylon that doesn't actually stop shrapnel. Thank you very much, Stug. I appreciate it. There are little vent holes on the side of Stahlhelms, but that could be another issue. What is my favourite brand of alcohol? A person says with a name that looks like Greek Cyrillic. I don't know if it is or not. I like mead a lot. I know that's not a brand. But in terms of, I'm trying to think in terms of actual, is there like a particular brand of ale or anything I really like? Because in all honesty, as long as it tastes all right, I'll drink it. One of my favourite sort of spirits / liqueurs you could ever get, but it's hard to get, was Lamb's Navy, but it was a spiced one they did, which was a lower alcohol percentage, but like very, very smooth spirit to drink. Thank you very much, Thomas Watson. He said, fantastic stream as always. Congrats for the subs. Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Gavin Collins says, am I blocked? No, I can see your comment. And he says, okay, that's good. And then Mike also said to him, no. The original US Paskets were very similar tech Storm. I've not got a US Pasket, but somewhere I've got the British Armed Police one, which basically is a licensed Pasket copy. If I ever find one, Akuma, for a decent price, then yes, but I wouldn't hold my breath. Pardon the pun, the gas masks and all that. Just because a lot of this stuff gets so expensive, you know, for stuff that isn't necessarily in good condition, there's no point getting it. Zol Marion says, my favourite type of alcohol is vodka and spiritus. What's spiritus? Just like very strong grain alcohol. I bought 2 bottles back from Poland of that 95% grain alcohol stuff. Fucking hell. I mean, I know you're meant to use it as a mixer, not drink it straight, but I did drink it straight a couple of times. But yeah, fucking hell. But that's spiritus, isn't it? Sounds familiar. I'm going to have to Google this now. Spiritus. Yep, that is the stuff. Yeah, it's this exact stuff. Spiritus 95% vol. Yeah. Spiritus Lubliński Polish. That stuff. Yes. I do know that stuff because I've drunk it. Yeah, I did miss if you'd said a previous thing, David, but did you basically, if you said it, say what I was saying about because the casualties went up rather than fatalities, people said they wouldn't work? Was it that thing? S10 started production Blaze in the early 1980s or mid 1980s. My oldest S10 is from 86, I think, but it might have been like 84, 85 they started. Yes, Preston, because He'll probably tell you why. He's got a lot of experience in that regard. But I'd let him say if he wants to say or not. Aussie Prepper says, good day. He said, good to see your channel going well. Thank you very much. Let me look up the Cobra RX-130 then today, the Filth, the Fury. Is that a crossbow? Ah, it's cool. Is that the one with the magazine? That looks pretty cool. I know they're quite expensive, aren't they? But I imagine you have a lot of fun with that. I think general things that stop people exporting certain stuff and stuff like that's a stupid idea, but, you know, I'm not the person who makes the legislation on that. Yeah, he turns up every now and again, Henry. I'm sure he's all right. It's just he has to be on, you know, at the same time I'm on, doesn't he? Thank you very much, Big Slav X says, love your content. Keep doing what you're doing. You deserve all the subs you're getting. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. No, Morgan, I'm medically unfit to serve, even if I wanted to, because I've got autism, ulcerative colitis, and asthma. So, you know, 3 things that would disqualify me. When I was a lot younger, I was interested in it, but I became quite sickly as I was growing up. But, you know, a lot of my subs are ex-military or ex-police and stuff like that, you know, so they're good to have a conversation with. I just find all that stuff interesting. Quite a few people in my family were in the army as well, you know, or Navy or stuff like that. But just tightened up that nut in the top. That's how they attach the liner, just a little nut like that. Very simple. Silicon lubricants, the best stuff, Jammy Dodgers. And thanks, Fuzzy. You can see I'm tying my tongue. But yeah. This type of silicon lubricant's good. You can also use this when cleaning a lot of metals and things like that. But I find that gets rid of dry rot on a lot of masks. I know there's some masks you can't use this on, but for a lot of masks this works well. Stuart Sturgis says ADHD, bro. What, have you got that as well? What, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, isn't it? One of my mates has ADD. Or ADHD, whatever they call it now, and he has to take, you know, one lot of whatever the fucking tablets are for it. Dry rot, JJ, is when you have a rubber that basically almost gets like a type of mold on it. Well, although it's clean, it keeps rotting. Because you know how a lot of molds and shit rot when you have dampness and stuff like that. Dry rot's like a dry mold. It's quite weird. But the only way I found of getting rid of dry rot, even if I've used rubbing alcohol, you know, hydrogen peroxide, stuff like that, just ends up being silicone lubricant. I don't know why, it just seems to work well. I don't know if it's because it rehydrates the bit of the rubber that needs hydrating. Text on Dark Vision says, I like Stauhelms. It's a real shame that the army that used them for one of the worst regimes in history, resulting in a desire to own one being met with suspicion. Yeah, it is a shame. That's the thing, is lots of Nazi German equipment was really nice, or just German equipment. But obviously, it was one of the most evil regimes in history that was using that equipment. So yeah, owning of it can be a bit demonized, and, you know, you always sometimes wonder why some people want to collect it. But, you know, my granddad, he fought in World War II against the Nazis, and he said that, you know, most German soldiers were completely all right people that were conscripted, and, you know, a lot of their equipment was much better than the British equipment. But, you know, so unfortunately, yeah, it does have that stigma with it, doesn't it? Also, sadly, Nazi equipment is very expensive to buy because it has that same sort of weird, you know, collector's value where, you know, you could, if you think of helmets, guns, whatever the German World War II equivalent is way more expensive just because it's got a swastika stamp on it somewhere. Or you could get an M56, you know, like I was saying before, a modern Stauhelm. Or a Pasket, that's essentially a Stauhelm. Don't time them out, block them if they're insulting other people on here, Henry. But yeah, that's the thing recently, is simp is that insult, isn't it? I don't really get it. For people who give, like, Campbell's money or something. But apparently people are simps if they donate to me as well, even if they enjoy the content. Because apparently, yeah, people can't pay for what they enjoy, you know. But I imagine the people saying it's a bitter, lonely people, you know. I think it's a bit harder than that, Richard. But yeah, I block any comments I see like that because I know there are a lot of spam bot things. I think they normally have to try and get you to go to a link. Cheers, thank you, Surviving the Apocalypse. I've got a shout-out video for other channels tomorrow, and you are on the list of channels I shout out. Because I was saying, for people interested in Geigers and that, you're one of the best channels I can think of to watch. There's so many of those online insults, Preston, which I just don't think hold any value, because even if there was a proper use of the insult, it just gets used for every single bloody thing somebody doesn't like. It's like how ages ago, obviously, the term gay was used as an insult, and it wasn't actually necessarily used against people that were gay, homosexual. It was just literally, oh, I don't like that, that's gay, it was that kind of thing. So it loses all value, really, as a thing. It's a bit like if people shout racist at somebody who's not racist, it loses its value. A lot of them do, Nash, just because of the plastics or metals used on them. I suppose so, Laser. I mean, I can understand more with the streaming type stuff, because most people don't really get anything back out of it other than, the thanks of the person doing it. But, it's I just don't get it, because there's lots of stuff, again, yeah, you could use the logic, well, you could have just pirated it, No worry. I'm glad I found your channel again recently, because I said it was weird, like I wasn't seeing any of your videos, and then one randomly popped up, and, I was like, oh, yeah, I remember you. And then I've ticked the bow, made sure I bookmark it, and now I see every one of your videos. But I bet at some point again, it will just do the same thing with YouTube, where all the notifications suddenly turn off again. If it was done in a proper way and well organized, Sean, it could very well be a good thing. But the problem is, I don't know if it would be, just because I don't ever trust governments to well organize things. So what does the old man say, Henry? Don't keep me in suspense. Do you mean the Bren gun text on? Oh, yeah, do you mean the Bren gun? Yeah, Bren guns. My granddad really liked the Bren gun. Obviously, I've not shot any of them, but they really, really like the Bren gun. He said they were trained to, take it apart blindfolded and put it back together. But yeah, I've not shot a Bren gun or anything like that. I mean, yeah, the top-loading mag looks weird, but it also means you can go lower when you're laying prone. That was the point of it. I know a couple of other magazine sort of MGs of that type had side-loading mags. But I think the point of, magazine-fed machine guns compared to belt-fed machine guns is it's probably harder to overheat them, because you're going to be firing them essentially in slower things before you have to swap the mags out, rather than somebody just holding down a trigger and running loads of rounds through it and, mounting the barrel. All right, Laser. I hope you have a good breakfast. Well, it seems weird thinking it's breakfast time for you, but I suppose it would be. If I can think of something funny to play and rehearse before a stream, I will do the piano on the stream one day. If I can think of funny enough stuff for a parody video, then yes. Stems were very simple, John, though, but sadly they actually jammed quite a bit, apparently. But a lot of the problems with the stem was apparently the mag, just because they were, very cheaply made, complicated mags rather than being simple mags. If you want to see a gun that's like the Sten but better in every way, look up the Sterling. It's the Sten with a perforated-looking barrel sort of shroud that Britain used in the 60s to the sort of 90s or whenever it was, or might have even been the 50s. But the Sterling is really bloody cool. I'd love a Diak one if they weren't so expensive. But the Sterling is the Stormtrooper gun in Star Wars, the E11 Blast or whatever it's called. Hopefully they'll find a vaccine eventually, Albie, but I don't think it'll be here in a hurry, even with them trying to rush it through, just because of all the sort of complications of doing a vaccine. I think Taiwan did as well, didn't they, Akuma? Taiwan and Singapore did a lot, didn't they? So Henry says the old man said to the kids, he says, come and kick the can here every day and I'll pay you guys. My first week he paid them $1 every time they come. He said, my money is getting lesser by the day. I can only pay you 50 cents. And what's the moral of the story? They eventually stopped coming because he wasn't paying them to kick it there, even though they've been doing it for free originally. In theory, the gas mask dude, stuff like blister agents, as in mustard gas, lewisite, they will eventually penetrate through rubber because they're designed to eat into rubber. Yeah, but there's also, Nathan, if you watch a couple of gun channels, I don't know if Forgotten Weapons has done one, but there's some channels where they'll literally show you a Sten and the Sterling stripped down next to each other, and the Sterling is way better designed. Like, the Sterling has one of those, like, semi sort of cleaning mechanisms in it, where it's designed to catch dirt and kind of force it out the extractor, where I don't think the Sten had anything like that. But yeah, the Sterling had much better mags. That was one of the massive quality improvements. Because I think somebody was saying to me on a chat somewhere that some models of Sten would accept the Sterling mag, like in a backwards compatibility kind of way, and then they became a lot more reliable. But in general, like, the main the Sterling was both an improved gun and had improved mags. Brody helmet, also known as the Mark 1 and Mark 2 helmet. I'm pretty sure this is a Mark 2, because I'm pretty sure it's a World War II one, not a World War I one. But, the British Tommy helmets and the ones America used in World War I and World War II, basically just a steel sort of kettle helmet. The idea is it's literally a bowl to protect you from shrapnel and stuff raining down on your head. In theory, I've seen people do it, Jammy Dodgers. I don't know how easy it is, and I've never tried, but I think if you disassemble the bits without too much effort, you can reassemble it the other way around. I'm going to have to look that up, Richard, because it sounds familiar, but weirdly it's not going into my head. Is that a Monty Python thing or something? It's a Gilbert and Sullivan thing. The only Gilbert and Sullivan thing I really know, Richard, is the Policeman's song, because we did it in the Panto once, from, is it Pirates of the Penzance, whatever it's called, when a felon's not engaged in his employment, that one. And everybody hated it, because we always forgot the words, even on the nights we were performing it. Harris says, it's Mark II because elastic's chin strap. Thank you very much. I mean, in theory, you can take the liners out, can't you? Because I've got two of the shells, and you can take the liner out and put in the other one if you want to, but I think I put in this one because it's actually the better condition of the two helmets. Some of the Call of Duty games are all right, but I've never bought any in years. Black Ops, I think, was the last one I really liked. I mean, the original Black Ops from like 2010 or 2011, whenever it was. If you didn't see, Preston, when I did the video on the PMK the other day, or whenever it was, the screw thread actually came out the mask by accident when I was doing the video. So you can take the screw threads out. So they're just kind of stuck in. They're not actually. Although they were never the right masks, if I remember, Wayland, for the nation. So when the Soviets had masks on, I'm pretty sure they had like French and American masks on. It looks cool, but, it wasn't their real masks. Can't you shoot it, David? Or do you mean like there's one that's fallen down some sort of crawl space and it's taken ages to sort of starve or die first? Pretty horrible. I'd put out of its misery if it was me, but maybe it's not practical. I'm all right. Endless Nameless. I hope everybody else is. At the moment, I think it's more expensive, though, to get a Diatley Enfield than it is to get a working Schmitz Reuben. So I know which I'd get, even though I've got a Diatley Enfield and I've got a working Schmitz Reuben. But, I think for the most part, RC Guy Ireland normally use British masks. Both the Republic and obviously Northern Ireland use British masks because they are part of Britain. But I'm pretty sure the Republic of Ireland is in Southern Ireland. I'm pretty sure they use Avon masks anyway, and I think that's just probably because they were offered them at the best price. So technically, the Republic of Ireland has better masks than Britain does now because they bought Avon's, like, C50s and M50s or whatever, rather than buying the what was it, GSR. I'd say rather than silicon lubricant, you'd want silicon adhesive dwarven miner, which is like a glue. It's like a black glue. But yeah, you could coat that on the outside, and when it dries, it's like a dried layer of rubber over the sort of thing. So then, yeah, you'd basically that way stop any air getting in. No, I'm pretty sure they use the C50 and M50 now, Ireland. Oh, thank you very much, Slowly Cash. He says, I just got a GP5. I love your Gas Mods videos. Thank you very much. I'm sure you don't need me to tell you, but probably best not to use the original filter that came with a GP5 unless it's an emergency, just because of the dodgy contents of the filter. Oh, that's good of you, David, but yeah. Yeah, I really like Morrowind. Again, there's bits of it that haven't aged very well, but Morrowind had so much more detail to it than the modern Bethesda games. Right, I'm going to take this off now because it's getting uncomfortable. Modern helmets definitely have a much more comfortable headline of it. This is just literally kind of like cardboard or a ring of what do they actually use in this one? Yeah, it's like some sort of strong cardboard or leather that's then got a bit more leather on as padding, that's literally just pressing against your head. I haven't played Cyberpunk 2077. Is it out yet? Is it the people making The Witcher have made it? Look, that's really done a number on my hair, this helmet, for some reason. Very odd looking. That's good, David. Yeah, Techstorm. A lot of the stuff like the Sten was just made as like a really cheap last resort gun. There's a much better looking gun before the Sten called the Lanchester, I think it was. But Britain didn't use that design just because it was too expensive and slow to make, and they wanted like a really quick to spam out gun. I don't, Gretchen. I watch Weapon Collector on Twitch, but I don't ever stream on Twitch. I only stream on here. Now and again, very rarely, I stream video games on here, but for the most part, I just don't stream video games. A black GP5 is just called a GP5 or the Shum62U, Slowly Cash, same as the regular GP5. It's just they made both in the kind of grey-white colour and the black colour. Let me get you a picture of the WoW rod. Not the WoW rod, sorry. The Lanchester. I think it's in the book I've got. Just a minute. Right. Sean says the Lanchester was an exact copy of the German MP35. Yeah, it could very well have been. I just know it was, meant to be a very good submachine gun in terms of quality. It was just way too expensive and slow to mass produce, apparently, with the big demand for it. Yeah, there's a Lanchester with some Stens. Lanchester's the bottom one. As you can see, it looks a much higher quality submachine gun than the Sten. There should be some on eBay. Let me have a look for you slowly, Cash, just a second. Were you in the States, though, because you donated dollars? You're going to struggle to get them in the States. Your best bet, if you want to put filters on a GP5 in the States, is to get a very good 3D printed adapter. Because in the States, you are going to struggle to find modern GOST filters. That's all right, Altrix. I don't think there's been any trolls on today, or only one or two. It's a bit of a shame, because I thought if they ended up trying to post my details again, to try and scare me through doxing, I'd go, yeah, that's where I live. What are you going to do about it? But they haven't even turned up. A bit of a shame. Not really, but Akuma Gaka said, would gluing a NATO adapter to a PMG1 fix that stupid rubberized thread? Suppose so. Actually, I have thought of something you could do slowly, Cash. Buy some silicone adhesive. You can do what Son of Sono recommended that works quite well. Get a plastic NATO filter, like the Scott Pro filters, because they thread in quite well, although they don't thread in properly. But the plastic on the filter is going to get damaged, not your mask. Put a load of silicone adhesive on the side of them, screw them in, let it sit there for like a day. The silicone adhesive will dry and turn into basically rubber glue, and then you've got an attached filter on the mask. Loads of FP5s I got slowly cash just literally came with Polish masks. Like things like my MP5, my Furnez, I've been sent some before and that. But bear in mind, because I'm in Europe, it's much easier to get them because we're not very far away from Poland. You can get a hazmat suit if you want one. Gas mask, dude. It depends what you want to do with it. But no, I know who it is, Noodles, as well. It's a butthurt. I'm not going to name them because I'm going to be better than them, but it's somebody I bought something from about a year ago on eBay, who has since been kicked out of lots of gas mask community type things because they were bullying other members. And because I'd ended up buying from them, and I didn't even know it was them at the time, otherwise I probably wouldn't have done. But because I'd bought something from them, they had my address on file. And then we're able to go, oh, look, here's his address. I'm going to try and blackmail him by saying, I'll give out your address. I assume it was under financial thing or, of something else. But, I don't negotiate with terrorists, as they say, or blackmailers or whatever. So, yeah, I live in a place called Kidlington that's in Oxfordshire in the UK, just in case anybody wanted to know. Because, what they were saying was, like, oh, he lives, they named the individual bit of Kidlington, but that doesn't really worry me. And they were saying, and like, oh, he drives a Dacia Sandero. Well, no shit, because I've shown it in a video before. Wow, They got a few details wrong, but I won't say which ones they are, because I don't want to tell them, you got that detail wrong, go and change it. But yeah, I do live in Kidlington. Yeah, gee, that's the thing. I don't know if they did it thinking they'd scare me, but what they've just done in reality is turned even more people against them, haven't they? Even though they were doing it under, like, burner accounts, whatever you call it, where they just make an account to post the details. I don't know either, Henry. I'm pretty sure I've been to Tiverton, Joshua. Let me have a look. Tiverton, Devon. I wonder if Tiverton was where Pat used to come from, who I worked with when I used to work in Argos. I'm sure I've been to Tiverton. My granddad was from Tavistock in Devon. Children are allowed to watch my channel, Slowly Cash. I mean, I swear a bit, but my videos aren't aimed at children. You have to specify that on YouTube. But, there's like no nudity or anything like that in my videos. I mean, that's probably not allowed on YouTube anyway, is there? But, I mean, there's sometimes a bit of coarse language. But, and there's a lot of stuff, don't really try this at home unless you're prepared to take the risks, because I know a lot of people never listen when you say don't try this at home. If they would work well enough, Aku Magaka, I don't know enough about them, but if they'd work, then yes. I'm all right, Joshua, thank you. I wouldn't Altrix because I don't want to sink to their level. A lot of people already know who it is, but, what I'm trying to do is conduct everything not in a thing where I slag off other people and name them, So it's not like slander or, what's the other word for it? Slander and, I can't even think. Libel, is it? Slander and libel? I'm trying to remember. But, because basically what I've been doing is I've never named who it is, except for, weirdly, to the police. Because when I got doxxed, I was like, well, I'll at least file a police report on the fact I've been doxxed, even though I don't care that much. So the police know, interestingly. It's the one that was new spec up until the thing we have a new spec, Sean. So my Lee Enfield that's up there, it does more stuff than the new ones that would do, but if I wanted to sell it, I'd have to get it redeactivated, so I'm never going to sell it. I just find them weirdly interesting, Akumagaka. I just find, old military stuff is fascinating in its own right. I don't know how cheaply you mean by cheaply, Fuzzy, but let me link you to the one I have. Sheffield Knives. And the Commando third pattern is the one I've got and the one Stuart's got. The, Weapon Survival 94. I think he's changed his name now. That's the one we've got, and that's actually a good one, because I think Weapon Collector said he bought one recently that wasn't that particular one, and it was a bit shit. But yeah, they do different ones. They do like the non-black, tactical looking ones more to the original spec. But that one I just like because it's designed to be a bit more durable. As much as communism is lovely on paper, slowly cash, it would never work in reality, is my opinion on it. Because people are never going to willingly distribute wealth and, all want to be equal, are they? I think capitalism is a bit shit, but it's the best thing we have, so I'd rather have the best shit we can possibly have than stuff that's absolute shit. I like communist military equipment, as you probably know if you watch the channel a lot. I love old Warsaw Pact Milsurp, just because of how antiquated it is. You only need to clean a GP5 if it gets sweaty and horrible, really. Most of the time, you never need to clean masks at all. That's all right, gas mask dude. Yeah, that's the thing, Mike. In my video tomorrow, where I give some shout-outs to channels, including yours, I called him Weapons and Survival 94, but I said I thought he might have a different name, but in the description I've linked his actual account, so people will still find him. I suppose now people will get less confused between me and him if we're both on the stream, because it's not two WS 93s and 94s. Wow, Ralph, I just answered that, or Raf, sorry, and the answer is I don't really know, I just find them interesting. From a morbid part of history of people finding horrible, horrible ways to kill each other via inhalation of substances. And they look cool and creepy, don't they? Polycarbonate is very strong, UFC. Polycarbonate is the thing riot visors are normally made out of today. It's a really tough kind of plastic. Like riot visors, riot shields are polycarbonate. So in theory, modern masks having polycarbonate eyepieces mean it's very hard for them to get punctured or shatter because it's a very, very tough material. Polycarbonate scratches quite easily, but it doesn't break. If I hold that right up to the camera, you can probably see if there's... Actually, that's quite a clean visor, isn't it, in all honesty? But yeah, that's the thing with polycarbonate. Scratches quite easily, but doesn't shatter or break easily. eBay Albi, but you'll probably have to pay way too much for one. Piet says, love this channel from the Netherlands. Love the Netherlands. I've never actually been to the Netherlands, weirdly. I've been to a lot of places in Europe, but I've never been to the Netherlands. I think I've chatted to quite a lot of Dutch people on here, but I don't actually. Some of them are sure. I suppose you mean the modern type ones. A lot of the bus stops near me are still like old brick ones. But yeah. Yeah, UFC. I don't know about the Fashader, but yeah, that's one of the main improvements of the CT12 and FM12 over the S10 is the much stronger lenses because they're polycarbonate, not the older kind of plastic they used. So yeah, although I'd never do it with mine, supposedly if you get an airsoft gun and shoot the S10 a few times in the lens, it will crack. Whereas if you shoot the FM12, in theory, it shouldn't. Obviously, you still don't want to keep shooting them with airsoft guns. It's a silly thing to do. But the point is, that was one of the big improvements, was a much stronger material lens. As I said, Altrix, I don't want you to. Because, as said, at the moment, like I said, I want to be the bigger man, and you'd be doing it kind of under my thing, wouldn't you? A lot of people already know it is, but like I said, the way I want to do it is all, not sinking to their level. I don't know. I've heard people make that differentiation, but in the UK we just call it the swastika. I don't know. I don't know why it was called the swastika over here, but that's what we call it. There's one I'm an admin of, and never ever do any admin jobs on it, Waylon. I can tell you which one that is now, and I don't actually know. Because one of the people on there actually made me an admin, even though I didn't ask to. So let's see. Gas mask. Right, the worldwide gas mask community that has, how many members does this have? Quite a lot, but I can't see. But this one, I'm actually an admin on, but I'm not going to lie, I never admin this because I wasn't even asked did I want to admin it. They just invited me. One of the members on there, I think, was an admin and invited me. Most of it Ben blogs, not all of it, obviously. Some of it gets partially monetized as well, which YouTube do now, which is better than full demonetization. It can be very sporadic. Like sometimes I can do several gas mask videos, some get demonetized, some don't, and there's never any logic to it. But I heard the gas mask Discord went into a lot of trouble because of, like we said before, a few bad people stirring up shit on there, and apparently a lot of them have been kicked and it's getting better now, but I'm not on there anymore. But the thing is, I'm going to be honest, I don't join a lot of community things just because I'm very lazy at posting in them. YouTube takes up a lot of my time. If I didn't have YouTube, I would post on forums a lot more, but I don't, And the problem is, because I'm quite a divisive figure in a lot of gas mask community type things, if I post on them, half the people be like, wow, I love your content. The other half will be like, fuck you, you've ruined gas masks for everybody. So, that's probably one of the reasons I don't take part in them very much. It's hard to say, Stephen. The thing is, the really collectible masks, I don't think have inflated in price. As in, like, quite rare and, antique-ish type masks, because people wouldn't buy them thinking they'd help with corona. It's annoying if you just want to collect gas masks for the fun of collecting them. I definitely agree there. It's kind of a mixed thing, isn't it? Because it brings a lot more people in to appreciate why they're cool things, because they suddenly think, oh, I might need one. But, yeah, in regards to that, I do think the good news will be, I think when all the corona stuff is over, and who knows when that will be, I think a lot of people are going to sell their masks very cheaply they've bought, and then you might be able to get some amazingly good deals on secondhand masks. The thing is, Waylon, I can't remember if it was your comment I answered earlier, the thing is with particle filters, basically all the manufacturers say this on their site for particle filters, like the P3, P100 things, is that they stop microns that are traveling through the air. Like, if someone somehow got coronavirus microns and was able to inject them through the filter, they go through. Because as you said, if you think of it like a fishing net, the fish that's the virus is too small, it can get through. But the thing is, the virus doesn't move around on its own. So what it's actually is, the virus micron is sticking to spittle, when somebody coughs, like, bleh. Disgusting to think about. That's how it works. That's what the filter stops. And when the filter stops the spittle, the stuff stops with it. That's how they work. And that's because, obviously, if you think about it, if these masks didn't work for that stuff, doctors wouldn't need them. There wouldn't be such a demand for doctors to get face shields and masks, but they do work, If you have a question, G, ask it. I'll be going off in like 1 minute. OZK, I don't think so. Let me search it. Oh, it's a Russian thing, isn't it, the OZK? Oh, it's the old Russian NBC suit. Sadly, I don't. I've got a load of the other weird, like, Soviet bloc NBC suits, but not that kind of trench coat looking one. No, I don't think I've played 60 Seconds, otherwise I'd probably be familiar with it when you said it. Oh, I've got a 4A1, but that's very good Akumagaka. For anybody watching, Akumagaka says there's a guy on eBay selling Israeli Shalom 4A1 masks for 35, I assume that's dollars each or something. That's a very good price. No, 5G and that can't transmit viruses, GZ. Whether or not you can get obviously, like, 5G could definitely transmit, like, internet style viruses. You could get malware and shit through 5G signals, but not a physical virus, no. I don't like most extremist ideologies, Vladimir, just because generally the normal people suffer under them. So whether or not we talk about fascism or communism, generally the normal everyday person does not do very well under them. I like a lot of the old military equipment from both, extremist ideologies, but in general, as much as, like we were saying earlier in the stream, economic, capitalist democracies have a lot of flaws of them. In a lot of ways, they're shit. They're a lot better than a lot of the alternatives. I think by its nature, doesn't communist have to be extremist? Because if you read Karl Marx, the whole thing is, like, basically redistribution, and it's forced redistribution. Because think about it, people aren't going to willingly give up stuff, are they? If they have stuff, they're not going to say, all right, I'm going to do it in a Jerry Jackson voice for some reason, and I'll stop streaming. All right, I am the rich factory owner. No, I'm not going to give you everything. What do you mean? You will take it at gunpoint? Oh, no, what are you doing with my monies for your taxes to redistribute it? But I think that's, the issue. That you can have socialism and things like that, by all means, you can have those, but by their nature, they're not as extreme. I don't want us to get really political now. But that's why I've said before, you know, I don't go full on for one ideology because I think it's a stupid thing to do. I think having some mild socialist things with capitalist things can work. You know, certain products can have a tax on them, and that tax can go towards funding public services. You know, lots of countries do that, and it generally works pretty well. You can argue at how much a tax should be, or whether a certain product should be taxed or not, but we've generally found that's a pretty good system. Yeah, well, I suppose, Vladimir, because you have to make the dear leader, don't you? The god figure of the state. Well, you find out of a lot of ideologies, actually. But yeah, like with obviously communism, you think of all the churches and whatever else that was closed down or, you know, restricted. But you have the cult of personality of the leader and the party. So it's not like they don't have a religious kind of thing. It's just a completely weird atheist one based on megalomania. Not on a god you may or may not believe in, but... Right, anyway, I'll be off now. But it's been a great stream, and thank you for everyone that's donated. And for the person saying, what's the mask behind you of the yellow lenses? If you're looking at that one, it's also got a newspaper in it, so it keeps its shape. It is a last-ditch Nazi German VM44, which you can see was made from a cheap fabric, because this is when Nazi Germany was collapsing. So basically just the valves in it were rubber. Everything else was kind of like a fabric they tried to impregnate to stop stuff getting through it. It's got a little swastika on it somewhere, but I probably shouldn't show that on the stream. You know, little Reich Eagle. But yeah, these were last-ditch Nazi masks. Yeah, it's a merch hoodie. If you want one, you can buy one below. But thank you, everybody. It's been a really good stream tonight. You know, I said the Doxers haven't been back on and everybody else, but I will be on Twitch definitely at 10 p.m. See you then, Mike, in about an hour's time. Right, see you then. Bye-bye.